We are officially in the eye of the hurricane. Stocks are searching for direction this morning, but don't let this quietness fool you. Things are about to get nuts. This week, the Fed, the ECB, and the Bank of Japan all take the stage. One wrong word on interest rates could send these indices into a tailspin, especially with the 10-year approaching a danger zone. So, to further complicate it, what in the world is going on in Iran? It seems to be an absolute stalemate, threatening to push inflation even higher, all coming the same week when we have big tech earnings like Google, Microsoft, and Apple. So, let's deep dive into what is working today and the setups that just might be foreshadowing a big move this week. So, let's start with Alphabet, Google. It is now, as of halfway through the trading day, going into price discovery, which is fantastic. Who doesn't love a little bit of price discovery, at least when you're in it? It broke through today its previous resistance of about 347 and is now trading up over 2% on a lackluster market day. Um, I love the fact that it's going like this 2 days before earnings. I love the fact that the MACD is still trending up with a renewed momentum optimism behind today, assuming it closes where it's at right now or even higher. The RSI is now just come into another overbought signal, which don't let that nomenclature fool you. It can stay an overbought for a long time. We've seen stocks do that. And a stock in price discovery in an overbought situation, well, let's just say that can be a lot of fun. The full Fibonacci 1.618 extension from this move from the February 2nd to the low a couple weeks ago is $390. And honestly, I think it can get there this week. Now, today it needs to close above the trigger point of 347. It looks like it's going to do that. Tomorrow needs to confirm with a close above today's highest wick, highest print, and earnings need to blow out on Wednesday. Those three things happen. This move in Google, Alphabet, can surprise a lot of people. Hey, before we continue, do me a solid and consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm new to YouTube, and so every subscriber I get, I still get really excited about. But don't do it unless you're getting something out of this. Tell me that you're getting something out of this by subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. One thing that's not working today is Bitcoin and crypto trade in general. It got rejected pretty solidly off of the close to $80,000 mark. Keep in mind, the 50-day is still well below the 200-day moving average. But we do have what looks to be at least the start of a rollover on the MACD and a rollover on the RSI. That doesn't necessarily concern me until we get a breakdown of the 73,800 is sort of the line in the sand for me as it relates to Bitcoin. And why I care about this is because of stocks like Hood, which has recently hit its resistance, and some other crypto type plays, miners, and what have you. That means more to me than just Bitcoin. I see this as more of a canary in the coal mine. But I am concerned. It's down 2,000 points so far today, and it's looking pretty ugly off of that reject of the 79,000 and change mark. This is certainly something to pay attention to because in general, at least I view Bitcoin as, again, a canary in the coal mine, not just for the crypto trade, but the risk tolerance trade going on. And so in the past, I think it's been more leveraged to the market cycle than it is now. There seems to have been, over the last 12 months or so, a bit of a deleveraging of that. But there's no doubt that with Robinhood reporting earnings later this week, the crypto downturn, winter, if you will, it can have a serious negative impact on that. Now, again, that sort of line in the sand is just below 74,000 for me. However, a close below this 65,000 and change mark, then what a lot of folks are predicting, this move in Bitcoin down to 48,000 or so, that could materialize in a number of days if we see a hard fall below that. We're a long way away from that right now, okay? So I don't mean to make it sound like it's inevitable, but I would certainly feel more comfortable with Bitcoin and the crypto trade if this 73,800 level held. And we'll probably see that, at least a bounce and attempt on it in the next couple days. Now, I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised about the action in Apple so far today. Now, clearly, we have some indecision going on. It's come down about 1.6%, 1.7% or so today, off of a recent attempt of clearing the resistance that was at about, call it 275, 275 and change probably. Uh, However, this 266 number is a support line stretching back from December of last year. And so to me, this really needs to hold. We do have a bit of a rollover on the MACD, the rollover coming in on the RSI. I'd love for this to bounce here, I guess is my point. I need to see a confirmed bounce here to get excited about Apple going into earnings. We spoke about Alphabet earlier. That setup going into earnings, much cleaner than this. We need to see a bounce at this level. A close below 266 could very well bring the 50-day moving average back into play, which is about 260. That would be my first target to the downside. If that fails, then the 200-day moving average sitting at about 253 and change would be the next level. For that to get hit, I suspect that Apple's going to have to really punk earnings later this week and scare a lot of people. In advance of that, I really want to see a bounce here off of this level. It's really, really important because the fact that I drew that trend line there means everybody else is seeing the same thing. I'm no genius here. So a lot of people will be watching this level very closely, wanting to see Apple close above it and bounce hard tomorrow. So let's look at the SMH, the chips, because I think this is a bit of an interesting one. You have the SMH down almost 1% today. NVIDIA is up over 2%, stretching into everybody's favorite word of the day, price discovery. If it closes here, it's closing at an all-time high. AMD, well, let's talk about AMD in a second. Micron getting a huge boost today, up almost 5%, and SanDisk's, amazing run is continuing with its first real attempt at sprinting over $1,000. If it closes here, it's up almost 7.5% today at 1,062. Just think, we all could have bought options in this at the end of December, and all of us would be retired by now had we been that smart. But here we are. AMD got a downgrade today to a market perform from an outperform, and I just want to say on AMD that I think after Friday's gap and run, this huge void that was left between the low threes and the 330, 340 area, that 10% gap coming out of this weekend is no real surprise to me that traders are looking to fill that gap. The first line in the sand would be around Thursday's close, which was 305 and change. Let's call it just 305. Wanting to see it break 310, come into that area, and see what type of buy trend comes in at that point. Do buyers step up and protect that area, or does it fall below 300? I would suspect it will be held. I think today's move, though as ugly of a candle as that looks with that downgrade, I think traders were looking for a reason to take profits. Hell, this thing has doubled in a matter of 3 weeks, and this is a big company, right? So that's no small potato, and it's no surprise that folks were looking to take profit off of this. The savvy investor, if you will wait and see if this pullback comes in and how it holds around that 305 area. Does it come in under 300, and does it take that out, or does it stick around that 300 after filling that gap? That's what I'll be watching for. Now, the MACD is very extended. The RSI looks like it's rolling over today from an overbought perspective. This is not something that I'll look to trade on in the near term. I want to see it come back and build some structure before doing that. But it would not surprise me especially with the earnings going on this week. If we see an ugly candle today and a total reversal of that tomorrow, that's sort of how these chip stocks have been going. So if we get a close over 350 tomorrow, then we're off to the races again. And today was just a little speed bump on the journey to 500. I don't know. But for me personally, I want to see this build some structure before getting excited about it. So now I want to talk a little bit about some smaller cap companies. We've talked about some big ones moving today. Let's talk about Fuel Cell, which is now down just under 5% of the day. It had come all the way down to a low today of, drum roll please, almost 10:07. It's bouncing off of that now. The chatter online this weekend was that this $11 needs to hold. And so short-term momentum traders would be watching that, looking at that over the weekend. I'm trying to talk about the psychology of the trading market right now. And they're saying to themselves, 11 needs to hold, 11 needs to hold, 11 needs to hold. But I'm telling you, if I look at this, I see a clear line in the sand of 10, just under 10. I got it at 995. And it came down and it bounced hard on that today. Let's look at the 15-minute here while I'm doing this. So we came down and over the last 30 minutes have started bouncing nicely off of that number, that 1007 number I spoke about earlier. I think that it doesn't surprise me that the masses were following that $11 round number, which would be about here, and I see the line that they're talking about right here. It doesn't surprise me that we got a swift pullback to that 11, or sorry, to that 10. I guess is my point. But now we need to see it bounce. That $10 definitely needs to hold. If you've watched any of my videos over the last couple of weeks, you know I like Fuel Cell for a couple reasons. There's been some insider buys going on. Somebody placed a $1.5 million call option trade that expires middle of July with a $13 strike price. I mean, big money thrown at this. And I think this data center play, I did a big recording video on the components of the data center. You might want to check that out. I recorded it on Saturday. Um, and and these alternative energy plays, the power grid is not going to be able to handle the power needs of the AI infrastructure. And I mean that's everybody knows that, right? But fuel cell is in that space, and with some positive momentum, some positive dialogue behind it, this puppy could get some wind. Now, I want to see a close above 12. We've gotten it once. We made one attempt for it last Wednesday and then had another ugly candle today. Maybe we get another third day of ugliness tomorrow as we retest that 10, but I need to see that $10 mark hold, and I need to see a quick move above 12. If we get that quick move above 12, there's a lot of green sky here. Green sky? Blue sky. Green fields, blue sky. And could see a move to a major resistance of what I see as about $30 a share. And that's what it's sort of, let me draw that line in for you so you can see it. That's sort of the move I'm looking at here. Needs to close over 12, and then over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, could see a move over 30. But that's why I like Fuel Cell. In other words, I think this morning is momentum players getting out of it, scared because of what they saw online and scared because of the fall that occurred this morning. It's already bouncing off of that $10 mark now, which I think is great. We'll see if this momentum continues. Okay, last one, and then I'm going to go get some stuff done. USA Rare Earth. I've recorded a short on this earlier today. So I'm not going to repeat a lot of reasons why I like this company right now, not the least of which is because the U.S. government invested in this, just like it did Intel back in the early fourth quarter of last year. And you can see very clearly what that did to the stock, brought it up to $44 and maybe a couple cents. That formed a long-term, well, that plus the late January move formed a nice line of resistance, which was currently sitting at around $20 or so. I guess about $21 and change. The line in the sand, if you will, the resistance level is 26, right on the money. That represents the gap up from the announcement of the U.S. investing in it, U.S. government investing in it. It represents the gap up back from late January, and it represents back in early February an attempt to get over that in a rejection zone that brought it all the way back down to the low teens, mid teens. Okay. Since then, it's double. It's not doubled. Since then, it's had a nice run up though over the last couple of weeks, coming back up to 26, so almost doubling, and is now fallen back to retest that resistance, which is now acting as support line. Um, I love the fact that we're bouncing hard off of that today. We came down on what was relatively light volume on Friday, and today we're bouncing quite nicely on it. Now, um, we'll see where the volume ends today, but halfway through the trading day, and it's looking like today's volume could exceed Friday's. A close over $24 is going to result in today's candle is going to result in an engulfing candle being produced today. That's an extremely bullish sign for the rest of the week. We could see a quick move back to retest that $26. If that we get a close above 26, then this thing, I expect at least over the next couple months, to run and attempt all-time highs. They finalized an acquisition last week. You might want to check that out. There's just major developments going on with this company. But what I like most about USAR right now is that it's not being talked about. A lot of the other stuff we're talking about and looking at and hearing about, the masses are already talking about. This was talked about back in October and seems to me to have been forgotten. And so I want to get in on it because I believe that they're going to start talking about it again. And that won't start until we get that break over 26. But if this starts running again and rare earths become more of a conversation again, then this could go north real fast. Anyway, that's what I got for USAR. Hey, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you got some better ideas for trading this week. Would love for you to subscribe, comment, and like this video. Let me know your thoughts on what we've talked about here. And I'm going to leave a link here at the end to a video I recorded yesterday on my watch list for this week. So you might want to check that out and hope you enjoy that as well. Have a great week and hopefully a profitable one.